Oh my God. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Catherine, and this is Off Topic with Catherine, where stories spill over, lessons get learned, life gets messy, just like it should. Sine yasas. I hope you're all having a nice day. Today it's raining, it's nice, and it's going to kill a little bit of the humidity, hopefully, and it's going to help my Apollo breathe better. Anyways, welcome to my show today. Today we are going to be talking about nice people. Now, over the course of my life, I've met some very nice people, and I'm not going to talk about those that are part of our family or close friends, although there are several of those in my family and friends. But I would like to focus more on strangers who just show up and with no other intention but simply being who they are, genuinely nice. Now, often when we read books or when we go to the bookstore and we want to learn more about how to help ourselves or our struggles, we pick up books about difficult people or books about dramatic situations, dramatic events, but never about someone who's done nice stuff. At least I haven't. I will be very frank, I have never done that. But I do often remember people who have impacted me in a very positive way in my life, and not about doing good deeds, not helping, when help is needed. Sometimes we'll say, oh, if you need some help, just let me know, I'll be there. I kind of stopped saying that too in my life, because unless I genuinely mean it and I can actually offer that, then saying it defies the entire purpose. So I've stopped doing that a while ago. Unless I know that I'll be present, then I'm just not going to commit. And now, um, I would like to mention three or maybe even four if I have some time, people that have shown me genuine um, niceness, if that's a word. And the first one I'd like to start off with is a director that I met in my workplace, my very first job, actually. And I had an interview. Her name is Ruth. And I went in for this interview. It was my very first teaching job. And she was asking me some questions. I was very nervous. It was my very first time in this profession, applying for this position. I was very nervous. I completely, I think I bombed. And then comes the question of, do you speak French? Not a word, guys. Not a word. And I don't mean a sentence. I mean, bonjour was like, what does that mean? So she asks me if I spoke French. And I don't know why I said it, but I said yes. I guess I was feeling desperate. I really wanted to get this position, even though in the back of my mind, it's like, what am I thinking? This is not true. This very French environment, that no one spoke English in that environment either. But I did say yes. Anyways, thankfully, she did not ask me any questions in French. So after the interview finished, she said she'd get back to me. And so I got a call. I don't remember how long after that was, to tell me that I had the job. I was so happy, but at the same time, I was terrified. It's like, oh my gosh, here I am. I'm supposed to teach children, preschoolers in French, and I don't know what I'm doing. How am I going to communicate to the parents? Anyways, the minute I found out I got the job. At that time, there was no internet. There was none of this, learning languages online. So I remember opening up the radio, opening up the television, and just bombarding myself with every possible French, you know, station, and just listening and listening and listening and doing everything. I mean, I worked so hard at learning the language that I knew that in 3 months, I would I would have my probation, to see if they were going to keep me in that place, in that school, and if I would continue to teach. So, and you might ask, well, how did you do it within 3 months? I don't know, but I did. I mean, every word, that I would hear from parents or from children, I would just like take the dictionary. Yes, back then we used the dictionary. And I'd look up the word and rephrase it a million times to see how many different ways that word was used. Anyways, so in 3 months, I had my probation. We sat down, Ruth and I, and she, we talked a little bit about the workplace. And I thought I was doing relatively well considering. And she said to me, Catherine, I just want to tell you that when I asked you if you knew how to speak French, I knew you did not know how to speak French at all. And I remember the blood going from my feet to my head. And you might ask, did she never come into the class to see? I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe she did. I don't remember. Or maybe she chose just to sort of let it go. I don't know. But and so going back, she says to me, but I wanted to see what you would do in those 3 months. And honestly, guys, in a 3 month period, I surprised myself. I was so committed. I was so proud of myself. And because of Ruth, I was determined to learn the language. I'm very fluent now. Actually, I'm fluent. I teach French now to preschoolers, and I'm very proud. But had she not given me that chance, um, now she was taking a chance herself. Had she not given me that chance to see what I can do and to give me that confidence and just to basically give me the opportunity, I don't know what I would have done, but I worked in that school for 12 years with Ruth, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. So that was nice person number one, and not because she gave me the opportunity, but I worked with her for 12 years, and during those 12 years, consistently every day, she was that person, that supportive, kind, helpful person that never went off balance with that. So how much do I appreciate that? I can't even express in words. Second person was actually, they were all my directors, believe it or not. Well, one was my colleague. So the second person was a colleague, and her name was Maria. And I was put in a classroom with her early on in my teaching career, and we were together side by side. And she wasn't much older than me. I think she was like just a couple of years older than me. I must have been 23. She was about 25. And again, I didn't really know what I was doing. Yes, I had gone to school, I had read all the books, but practically I had no idea what I was doing. You throw me in there and I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew this happened in a classroom. And she just guided me. And it was, Catherine, don't worry, don't worry. And I'd ask her a million questions, not 5, 10, 15, 20, I mean, a million questions. And her response to that was, just keep asking me those questions. That's the only way you're going to learn. Again, back then, we can Google anything, we can find information any other way. So asking questions was the way to go. And if you were, beside somebody who did not make you feel comfortable or made you feel less intelligent than you thought you were, then perhaps I would stop asking those questions, and I would again not be motivated and not even sure if I would have stayed. So that was my colleague. And again, I worked with her for many, many years. I learned so much from her, and she was so kind that I think that because she was that kind, uh, I really learned to love what I was doing and enjoyed what I was doing. I really enjoyed my job. And a big part of it was because Maria was my colleague. And she, it was so nice to go into work every day. It really, really was. So that was my colleague. Now, my third person that, again, I will never forget. She was also a director. Used to work in art school. It was art and drama, again, for several years. And the reason I stayed at this school, again, is because of my colleagues, but because of my directors. I mean, your workplace is such a big part of your life, especially in your early years. I mean, you're spending 7, 8, 9 hours there more than you are at home. And she was overall just this kindest person, but one thing that I will never forget about her is, as we all do, we all struggle in our personal lives sometimes, and I was going through a period of struggles, and I had never been to her home, but she had a kind of home where she, I think, had a separate section in her home, and she came up to me one day and she handed me this key, and I said, "What's this?" She says to me, "This is," and she had a family. She had a husband, she had kids. And she says, "This is the key to my home." And I said, "Why are you giving me the key to your home?" And she said to me, "Because my home is open to you anytime, all the time, when you need it. I want you to keep this key for as long as you need to keep this key, and you just come and stay in my home, stay in this separate area, and you will never be bothered. I just want you to feel good." Oh, true story. True story. Jacqueline, if you're out there, you know who I'm talking about. And I will never forget that. Again, consistent, every day, the same person. And then there was another Maria. She was also my director. Actually, Maria was the last director that I worked with on a full-time basis before I gave up my position. And just a nicest person. I mean, of course, things happened at work, a lot of crazy things happening at work with, you're working with children, you're working with parents. I mean, you're dealing, for those of you who are educators and teachers, you know what I'm talking about, right? Um, and of course, we had to deal with all these difficult situations. And I'm not downplaying the fact that some days you'd go in and it was, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could deal with this anymore. But knowing that there was someone like her there to support and to guide you, and also to talk to you, not just as somebody that you're working with or for, but as a human being. And she was treating all her staff, I'm talking about myself, but all her staff equally and with such compassion and kindness. So, you know, uh, only later on in life I can say, do we realize um, that these are the people who consistently show up and who make life better every day and gently, with no trauma, with no big deal happening. So I thought that was very important for me at this point in my life to share with everybody, because we don't want to forget these people. These are people that, again, often are on the sidelines. Now, you know, sometimes we could try to be better. And again, it's not, helping someone in the street today or tomorrow. That's not what I'm talking about. So nice people don't get awards, but they do leave a lasting mark on our lives. And again, if you are one of those people, I just want to thank you, because you may have not known the difference that you've made in people's lives. Um, but I know that in my own personal lives, you were some of the most important people that I will always remember. So thank you for listening today. And today's coffee wisdom is this: um, we can't always be like that. And we should not be anything more than who we genuinely are. But let's just remember all those people who change our lives for the better, and perhaps try to learn a lot from that, because those are the people that make our ordinary days a little bit extraordinary. So thank you for listening to my episode today. Apollo's asleep. Apollo, you can wake up now. I'm finished. And please join me in my next episode, where I will be talking about, what do I want to be when I grow up? Yes, I'm grown up, but think about that. Thank you, and have a nice day.